Tonight is night two of the Thrive mini series. My name is Ashley. I am the owner of the Own Your Authenticity brand, and it is my purpose in this season to help women to thrive in purpose in every season of their lives. Tonight, we're going to be talking about burnout and everything surrounding that: self-care, compassion fatigue, you name it, we're going to be talking about it. And so I have tonight here Dr. PBJ coming to talk to us live. So I'm going to invite her in the room and I'm going to introduce her. So as she comes in, I'm going to read a little bit of her bio. So it says here, Dr. Jackson is an educator. Hi,
Ashley.
how are you?
I'm wonderful. How are you, sis?
I'm good.
Good.
Happy Mother's
Thank you. Thank
Day.
you so much.
All right. So I'm about to read your bio. So it says Dr. Jackson is an educator of over 20 years. She's the wife to the most amazing husband, Edward, and Mama Patrice, the baby girl. She believes in family and actively adopts more family members on a daily basis. Even you, yes, you are family now. Dr. Jackson founded Educare Training and Consulting LLC out of a passion for equipping and supporting heart workers, those who do their work with their whole heart. Working in this way can carry a very high price tag. Your mind, your body, and your relationships may be in distress as you serve the needs of others. We help bring alignment to your work, life, and heart so you will be empowered to do the work you love without losing the life you desire. Dr. Jackson is an educator for students of every age and every stage. She spent over 20 years of her life creating and facilitating co-curricular learning experiences for college students and over 10 years leading transformational workshops for a variety of audiences. Dr. Jackson has experimented with a variety of approaches to work and learned some tough lessons. She loves her work and it almost cost her everything. Her goal is to share those lessons on work-life harmony with you, her fellow heart workers. You serve so many others. You deserve this love. How are you?
Oh, I'm wonderful. It is such an
It
honor to have this conversation
is an
tonight.
honor to have you here. I don't think you understand. For me, when I came up with the series, I came up with the topics. I wrote your name down and I was just like, of course, duh. Like it makes perfect sense. Like you lined up perfectly with some of the topics that I wanted to talk about, and it's important. And it was important to me to have you here because you're a teacher. Happy Nurses Week. Happy Teachers Week. I think we share the same week.
Yeah,
We
yeah.
do. Okay. And I remember the first time I heard you speak about compassion fatigue. We were on a coaching call with Patrice, and I was like, God, like this is a real thing because I've never heard of it. We go through life and it's just like, all right, I'm just tired. But it's like, no, like every point you hit on, I was like, she is speaking my life. Who is she? And how did you know this?
Oh, because I lived it, sister. I lived it. That's how I know it. Yeah.
So please tell us. I know I read a whole lot just now, but I want you to tell your experience. Like, how did you come up with compassion fatigue? What made you research? What made you stop and say, okay, this is what's happening? Like how?
Yeah, yeah. So I first of all, thank you. I'm honored that we're here together. But I have to tell you, of everything that you read, all the things, right? 21 years in education, just taking
Kudos
care.
to you.
Well, thank you. Definitely a calling, but it almost cost me everything.
Yeah.
It almost cost me everything. I'll tell you about the day. I
Mm,
remember
please do.
the day specifically. I remember driving to work through the rain. It was August 2019. um,
Wow.
2019. I remember walking through the building to my office and, of course, hugging students on the way, popping my head in to say hello to my staff, just doing what I do, right? And it was literally everything I could do to get into that office and shut the door. I got into the office, I shut the door, and actually I crumbled. I crumbled. I remember gripping the side of that desk, just
Right.
to brace myself. I literally wanted to crawl under that desk, lay there in the fetal position, and just cry.
Wow.
And the only reason why I didn't do that is because I was so afraid that I wouldn't be able to pull myself out from under that desk and
Right.
find me right
Yeah.
there. I felt trapped, you know, because I knew if I opened that door to leave, if I opened that door to get some air, somebody would need something.
Yeah.
Somebody would be calling my name. Somebody would have a question. Somebody would have a request. See, what I did is I taught everybody that I could be all things to all people, and
Mm.
they believed me.
Right.
They believed me. So after giving, and I'm telling you, at that point, I had sacrificed my health.
Mhm.
I had lost significant relationships. And literally in that moment, I thought I was losing my mind.
Right.
I thought I was losing my mind. I walked away from my job. I walked away from higher education in
Mhm.
the moment, left my job. Something I never thought I would do, but in that moment my choice was me or everybody else.
Yeah.
After my entire life, I finally chose me.
Yeah.
And I literally spent the next 5 months learning what got me to that point of
Mm.
burnout, but most of all learning how to get out of it.
Yes.
How to get,
So
yeah.
I'm glad you said you basically taught everybody that you could be all things.
Oh yeah.
You could be all things to everybody else, but then you neglect yourself.
Yes. Yeah.
And when I say I'm happy that you're here, because even though this is for everybody else, this is for me. And it's one of those things where I was thinking about it before we got on the call, and I was like, forget nurses. When you really think about teachers,
Mhm.
like you have 20 years in the game, over 20 years in the game, right? That for me is a lot. I've been a nurse for almost 4 years, and I'm like, I'm tired. But when you say that to people, they're just like, oh no, but you're young. You can do all the things. This is fine. This is great. Like, no, now's the time to do it. But there comes a point where you're like, okay, but as you said, it's me or everybody else. I can try to be on the level playing field to, sacrifice some things, be here sometimes, but then at a certain point you hit a brick wall.
Well, but here's the thing. So we teach people how to treat us.
Yes.
We train people how to treat us. So in that moment for me, it was a question of me or everybody else. But it
Mm,
only because I had done it out of alignment for so long. So
yeah.
you can be doing your purpose, but still doing your purpose out of alignment.
Yes.
You can be doing what you're created to do,
Mhm.
but doing it in a way that is unhealthy and unsustainable and unfair.
And it's
And
what Patrice said, right work, wrong place.
exactly,
Yeah.
or wrong way.
Yeah.
Wrong way. It could be right work, right place, but you're just doing it the wrong way. See,
Mm,
here's the thing. Whether you're a nurse, a teacher, a social worker, a counselor, whatever work you do, a stay-at-home mom, a minister, all these people struggle with compassion fatigue.
yep.
And you one person can do that same work and be fine.
Right.
But the other person, the way you do it, that's why I talk to heart workers. Because when I say heart workers, I'm talking about we don't do it for the promotion. We don't
Mm,
do it for the money. We
right.
don't do it for the pat on the back. But we are the people who do it because we know we were created to do it.
Yeah.
It's a calling. It's a calling. When you're a heart worker and you're a nurse and you show up in that hospital, you're not just there to say, I'm a nurse. You are there to serve.
Yeah.
You take those patients home with you in your heart.
Yes.
Take those students home with you in your heart. And you give and give and give. And compassion fatigue is like you literally live the results of what they're going through.
Yes.
Serving a student who's struggling, if I'm not careful, I will take on the outcomes and the consequences of their life circumstances. So sometimes it's a question of what is my purpose, but
Mm,
other times it's a question of how do I do this purpose that
yeah.
cost me so much so that it doesn't cost me everything.
Yeah. That's
Yeah.
the point. That's
Yeah.
and it's crazy because when I think about it, even from my personal standpoint, I had moments where I'm just like, for me, I had to figure out, once nursing school finished, once I started working, I had to figure out, okay, I'm sorry. Oh my God, I hate when this happens. Don't ask.
Yeah.
Don't ask. For me, I had to figure out what it meant for me to be a nurse.
Mm.
And I used to always hear people say, "Oh, but you're a nurse, like you're making good money." And I'm like, "But I'm not.
Yeah.
My job can't pay me enough to do what I do."
Yeah.
And not saying it to be boastful or to be cocky or anything like that. It's just you always hear that nurses provide compassionate care.
Yeah.
That's a thing across the board. Nurses, compassionate care. That's what we do. But then again, there are times when it's like, okay, but there, like there's a line, there's a wall, something's happening. And for me, over the years, I had to take a step back. I had to really look at the work that I do. What am I doing? Who am I serving? What am I instilling into others?
Mm.
That's when I realized that for me, it had more to do with the fulfillment aspect of it than anything else.
Yeah.
And
You.
so, and I'm sorry to cut you, but then I think of the flip side. Like, yes, there are days when I'm fulfilled. There are days when I go to work and I feel like, you know what? I've given my all. Like I feel proud of myself, but more proud that, okay, these people, at least they got something from me. Whether it has to do with the physical care, whether it has to do with a thought or a word that I instilled in them, whatever it is, I feel fulfilled because I did that. Right. And it has nothing to do with the accolades. It's just my work here is done because I did what I was supposed to do.
Yeah.
Right. But on the flip side of it, and I'm sure you can talk about this or relate or resonate at some point, there are days when I'm just like, I am legitimately tired. I legitimately feel like I have nothing to give. As you said, like there was that time when you're walking down the hallway and you know that you can't come out the room, because if you come out the room, there's gonna be somebody who pops up to say, "Hey, Dr. PBJ, like, can you do this for me?" And sometimes it's just like I just want to be here in my little bubble alone. And
Yeah.
I have those days, and I'm sure there are a lot of other people who have those days, but we don't talk about it.
Mm. We don't talk about it and we don't think it's okay, right? So I hear you talking about two things, because I always talk to my community about starting with you. So that's
Mm,
your values, your energy, your motivation, your
right.
purpose, your priorities, and your sacrifices.
Mm,
You just mentioned two things. I heard you talk about your energy and you
mm,
spoke about your motivation. So I'll start with the motivation, because the motivation is the why.
yes.
Why do I do this? The
Mm,
money will only sustain you so long.
thank you.
Grateful for it. Don't trip now.
Of
Like,
course. Trust me,
right?
I
Please make sure the direct deposit happens,
am.
right? You can't serve on that.
Yeah.
You can't keep serving just on what you make. It's got
Mm,
to be deeper than that in order for us to keep doing the deep work that we do. So it goes back to your why.
yeah.
What is the why that will sustain you? You know, I always tell people, be careful of the why traps. Be careful
Mm,
of people pleasing. Be
mm,
careful of the competition. Be
mm,
careful of the tangible things, including money, because all of that stuff can change.
yeah.
People don't know what they want, so you can't people please. You compete with people who are sent to be a blessing to you.
Yep.
So you got to know, what is your deep why? Why are you called to this work? On the days that you don't have the energy for it and you don't feel like it and you need that extra boost, you got to know something. You got to know something about why you keep doing this and what makes you keep showing up. And it can't be the money. It can't be waiting on the pat on the back, because you won't always get that. It can't be the recognition, because you won't always get that. It's got to be something deeper than that. So that's the why. But then I also heard you talk about your energy.
Yeah.
And here's the thing. Each of us, first of all, we're our first advocate.
Yep.
I am PBJ's first advocate.
Hmm.
Nobody should be looking out for me more than me, right? And in order to advocate for myself, I've got to know how to refill my tank. And everybody's different. I can't expect my workplace to refill my tank. There are so many hard workers out there just giving, 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 and literally scraping the bottom of the barrel because you haven't stopped for a minute to go get a refill.
Right.
And you got to know what refills you because everybody's different. So I'm an introvert, right? I
Same
know
here.
myself. I'm an introvert. I know I need some quiet time. Okay. I know I need some prayer. I know I need some meditation.
Mhm.
I need some time where nobody's calling my name so that I can refill my tank so
Yep.
that I keep giving. I was neglecting that time before. That's how I got to burnout because I just always had something to do and it wasn't okay to take a break. That is ridiculous. It's ridiculous.
Thank you.
Everybody has to know what they need. I have a daughter who's an extreme extrovert. She is an extreme extrovert. She gets her energy from connecting and being with people.
Yeah.
She's got to fill her tank that way.
Yeah.
Everybody's got to know what fills your tank.
Right.
And then you have to prioritize to make sure you go do it.
True. Thank you. Thank you for saying that piece.
Mm-hmm.
And I honestly feel like all the teachers, the nurses, anybody in healthcare, any matter of fact, it doesn't even matter what you do,
That's what you do.
and moms included, need to be a part of this conversation because so many times, and I'm gonna be honest with you, even today,
Mm-hmm.
I was like, honestly, I don't want to be bothered. As much as, yes, I don't have kids. Yes, I have, a mom and a bonus mom, but I was
Yeah.
like, I really don't want to be bothered.
Yeah.
I can serve you any other day of the week, the month, the year. Today, don't want to be bothered.
Yeah.
Tell you, I've worked Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, I think, or Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and I'm off for 5 days. I told my dad, I saw him yesterday and the day before. I said, I do not bother me.
Mm-hmm.
Love y'all dearly. I'll come out when I come out. Just don't ask for me.
Yeah.
Even today, at one point he said I needed to go run some errands, and I was just, I don't want to. I as you said, it's that need of, I just need my me time.
That's right.
And it's not about being selfish, and it's not about, like not wanting to socialize. It's just literally, I just want my quiet time with my thoughts, with my books, my candles, and to meditate, do whatever it is that I got to do, catch up on some scriptures, watch a
Mhm.
sermon if I need to, but I just need my me time.
Yeah.
And so I like that you went into, you have to know what fuels you and what you need.
That's
Is especially during the pandemic, and I don't know if you can relate to this, but especially during the pandemic, it was the first time in a long time where I felt at peace. As crazy as it sounds, when everything and everybody else was like, oh my God, like we can't even go outside. What about curfew? What about this? And I was just like, that's okay.
me too,
I'm
sis.
outside.
Me
And
too.
trust me, I like to go out, but I have a limit. I'm at a certain point, I'm like, all right, what y'all doing? I'm ready to go home. Like, y'all not ready? That's me. I like to turn up every once in a while, but it's like, all right, now is my cutoff time because now I've been out too long and I'm, like I need to refuel. So during the pandemic, when I first started the blog, I had one of my close friends, a nurse friend, and I remember, I think I wrote the topic on self-care and burnout.
Mm,
And just going back to working, and feeling like, as you said, I neglected myself. I felt like, forget about going out and getting nails done. I felt like I just wasn't feeding me.
yeah.
I, I wasn't still. And so, as I said before, during the pandemic is when I felt like I had that be still time. I had that me time. I had that quiet time. And that's when I refueled. Starting the blog, yes, it was for other people, but it was for me to just like get my thoughts out, do my own thing. And so a part of the self-care was, like I'm writing and I'm doing all these things. And my friend said to me, she was like, that blog post you wrote, she was like, I didn't realize how much I was neglecting myself. She was busy being a mom, busy being a wife, busy taking care of her house, busy, like feeding into all these things, working, looking for a per diem, doing all these things. And she said, I didn't realize, like, to the point where she neglected even her physical appearance.
Mm,
And so often we just go about with the cycles, which is honestly why I came up with my whole thrive theme, because we go through the cycles and we're just surviving and we're just going through the motions, and compassion fatigue comes up and burnout comes up and all these things come up and we ignore them.
yeah. Can we talk about busy for a minute?
Busy.
Because Because you said busy, so we need to talk about busy, because somewhere in our culture we've been taught that you get a badge of honor for being busy.
Thank you.
Like at some point, somebody taught us like you need to be worn out, slap tired, working all the long hours, no sleep, team no sleep. When
Thank you. Yes.
when we get caught in cycles of busy, and we fooled ourselves to think and understand that that means we're getting something done.
Yeah.
But most of the time, we're like a hamster on a wheel, just running,
Yep.
running all of our energy out and not accomplishing the things that we were created to accomplish, because busy leads us to burnout.
Yep.
But we've got to move from busy to productive. It's so interesting. So in this season of my life, I find myself producing more than I
Mm.
have in a very long time, maybe ever.
Yeah.
I'm producing more than I've ever produced, but I am not nearly as busy as
Yeah.
I was in former seasons, because I have learned how to say no. And I no longer find pride and honor in running like a chicken with my head cut off. I know better than to say yes to everything. I have learned that I don't have to be all things to all people.
Mhm.
I have learned that it's okay for me to have a personal boundary for myself. And it's not selfish, it's wise.
Thank you.
It's wise. In order for me to accomplish what God created me to accomplish in this earth, I've got to understand that I am not called to serve everybody. I have specific assignments on my life.
Mhm.
And in order to do those well, I've got to learn to say no to the good thing
Mhm.
so that I have the purpose thing.
Yeah.
I've had enough of saying yes to everything. I used to think everybody needed me.
Yeah.
I
And
used to,
that's it.
I thought everybody needed me. Child, I quit my job and them folks kept living. They
Right.
School didn't close. The students didn't stop going to school. Everything kept running. They had the nerve to keep living without me. And that taught me it wasn't so much that everybody needed me, it was my need to be needed.
Mm.
It was in me. It was my need to be everything
Yeah.
to all people. So through prayer, through counseling, through coaching,
Mhm.
I'm literally relearning how to serve.
Yeah.
I have taught myself how to serve my purpose and what I'm supposed to do.
Right.
Be okay with the things that are not assigned to me.
Yeah.
So we got to let go of busy. Go ahead.
That. And so even when you first started, when we first hopped on, you
Mhm.
said you have to create boundaries. I
Yeah.
don't remember what you said it, but you said
Yeah.
it. Stuck. Because of the simple fact that 28, I am just learning
Yeah.
boundaries are important.
Yeah.
That boundaries are applicable to any and every area of your life. Because as you said, we grow up in a society, we grow up with the traditions, we grow up hearing, oh, you got to do this and you got to say yes to everybody, oh, if your family calls you, you got to, and X, Y, and Z, and 1 2 3, and it's like, but you don't.
You don't.
As you said, they'll survive without you.
Hmm.
And so I had to learn, right? Because I wouldn't say that I want to be, well, I had moments where I wanted to be everything to everyone, right? And I take pride in being the supportive friend, but, and not even so, it doesn't have to do so much with friendships, but when it comes on to just being, what's the word? I'm known for being reliable. Let's,
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
what it. And so when I'm asked, like, oh, can you do, or can you show up at this point? Can you go out here for a minute? And I would always say, okay, maybe. All right, just give me 5 minutes. Damn, I just woke up, but all right, let me just get dressed real quick. And over time, I'm just like, honestly, though, no. And so it wasn't until, I kid you not, It wasn't until maybe we're in May, a month ago, 2 months ago, after I started therapy, and my therapist said, and I don't remember how it came up or why it came up, and she was like, no, boundaries. She said, boundaries teach people how to treat you.
It's,
And I had to take a step back. I was like, wait, what? And she was like, yeah, boundaries teach people how to treat you. So if you're constantly saying yes and yes and yes and yes and okay, no problem, a-okay, without questioning what is being asked of you, without questioning, like without putting any thought into it, they're going to constantly come for you. And so you'll find that over time, you're being used. You're being, what's the word I'm looking for? Taken advantage of.
mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
And so you're wondering why you're serving all these people, you're giving all these things, and then at the end of the day, you're tired and you're fine.
Listen, okay.
I'm so sorry, what? Like, why am I stressed out? You look happy go lucky. I'm confused.
Oh my gosh. Okay. So, first of all, you just said a whole word. Many of us have been the dumping ground for other people, and they leave feeling better, and we're left carrying their stuff.
Mm,
How many people, how many of y'all listening to us are heavy right now with something that does not belong to you?
thank you.
You are carrying somebody else's stuff. You are the listening ear for everybody. And they come and they deliver their junk to you, and you carry it, and they skip off feeling so much better, and you're left carrying the weight of it. We've got to learn how to be there for people without taking on their stuff.
Mhm.
We've got to figure out how to serve in the way that we're supposed to serve without taking on a mantle that doesn't fit us. So that's number one. Number two, when it comes to saying no, you got to say no so you can have better yeses. You can have it all, but you just can't have it all at the same time. You got to know where to draw the line. And it doesn't have to be confrontational. It doesn't have to be,
Right.
your no can be easy. That sounds awesome, but I can't help you this time.
Yeah.
Or, you know what? I already said yes to 3 other things, so I'm going to have to give you a no, but check with me next time. Or have you thought about so and so? They're really good at that.
Right.
They probably be able to do it. Like,
Right.
there's so many ways to say no, and we got to give ourselves permission to
Mhm.
say no so we can have better yeses. And here's the other thing you said. When it comes to boundaries,
Mm.
think about boundaries, okay? Think about boundaries as the walls around an ancient city, right? So when we read, and I love the word of God, so I hope it's okay. But this is
This,
just
of
this
course
is just
it
when we read the word of God and we study
is.
these cities were built with walls around them for
Right.
protection,
Right.
right? And these walls were several feet high. So you weren't gonna just roll up in the city with your bags like, hey, I just came to see my cousin.
Right.
You're not up in here. Like you're not just coming in here like that.
Right.
The watchman on that wall, and the watchman decides who to let the drawbridge down to let in and who's not coming in here.
Yeah.
That's what our boundaries do for us. Our boundaries are protection. They protect us and give us the discretion to decide what and who we allow in and what's not welcomed into the city. But
Mhm.
here's the key, sis. You can't make a boundary if you don't know what you value. Your boundaries are based on your values. What is non-negotiable for you?
That.
Where
Yep.
you stand? What are you not willing to lose?
Yeah.
A lot of us fall into burnout because we haven't identified what we're not willing to lose. Because burnout will come and take everything that means the most to you. It's a thief. It's a thief. So we got to start with our values.
Yes.
You don't know what you value, you can't make a boundary.
Yeah.
You can't make a boundary. So start with the values. What am I refusing to lose?
Mm.
When I was in my burnout state, everything that was most important to me was leaving me. My health
Mm.
was leaving me, my faith was a mess, my relationships were a mess. And even in my family, I had lost significant relationships in my family because I was always busy.
Yeah.
So I had to decide that these are things I'm not willing to lose. And I built my boundaries based on those values. So come hell or high water, it doesn't matter. Everything else, I love it, I appreciate it, I honor it. But if I lose everything,
Yeah.
faith and family ain't going nowhere for me, because that is my foundation. Those are my values. And then I build my boundaries from there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I like that you said your priorities. That's something that when I had my silent season last year, I remember I was going through a battle, like an internal battle. And I was like, okay, I feel like I should be happy with the decisions I've made. Like I'm doing this thing on the side. I feel great. Like, okay, this is working for me. But then on the flip side, I'm like, yeah, but you're not fulfilled.
Mm,
And honestly, it didn't take long. It took longer for me to get to the point where I was like, this is not fulfilling you.
yeah.
It to make the actual decision, like, you know what, I need to step back. And once I was able to say, okay, this side hustle is not fulfilling me. And this is cost, as you said, you have to know what you value. Because for me, initially, I was told, okay, prioritize your life. What are your top five? And I've stuck to this day, I've stuck with that because that helps to keep me in check. It was prioritize the first five most important things in your life. And when I made my list, I made it off of not so much where I was in that moment, but where I wanted to be. Who am I becoming? What do I want to be? What do I when Ashley Renee James steps into a room, what should be the first five things that you see coming, like coming from her?
Yeah.
When I made my list, my spirituality was at the top. Then it was me, my health, my physical health, mental health, everything. It had to do with my family, friends, loved ones. I think the next was financial stability, just making sure that I was good so that whatever I wanted to do after that, the betterment of others, serving others, that I could be able to do that.
Yeah.
And when I wrote it down, initially I was like, all right, cool. But then when I really stopped to look at the list, I was like, but hun, if your spirituality is at the top, when was the last time you really picked up your Bible? When was the last time you really got into prayer? When was the last time you were really vulnerable with God about how you felt about your life and what's going on? And once I did that is when
Mm,
I was like, oh, hell no, something's wrong here. Like you got the whole script flipped backwards and you're not even doing what you said you want to do. So how is it supposed to work for you? Because my values were all out of alignment. I was doing things the total opposite of what I wanted to do. And so, as you said, I had to shift and put up boundaries and think and say, okay, well, if this is what's important to me, I need to incorporate this back. And if it means cutting things off, cutting people off, or putting them to the side on the back burner, that's going to have to happen.
yeah.
Point
Yeah.
blank, and even for some of us, I appreciate my paycheck, so I'm not at that point yet. But for some of us, we say family is important, as you said before, right? But we praise work. And don't get me wrong, for anybody here who, is going through the struggle, COVID definitely took a toll on some people, and we have to do what we have to do to make it happen. I understand that. I'm not taking away from that. But there are some people, even pre-COVID, who sitting on a good stack, fine, cool, no problem. But they're still like just working, 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 working. And family is important, but then your kids and your husband and the other people in your household haven't seen you in a week. And it's like, but where are your priorities really? Right. And we sometimes, honestly speaking, put work and put other things and other people because we might have, let's say, a big position, or we might be, like that it person that everybody comes to, and we don't outsource and we don't want to put the burden on somebody else. So we take it on all ourselves. And again, we're burned out. The company is running fine. The business is running fine. The corporation is running fine. But we're up here and we look good, as Patrice says all the time. If y'all get confused as to which Patrice I'm talking about, Patrice Cunningham, Washington. But like Patrice says all the time, we are, what is it? A public success and a private failure.
Mm-hmm.
And so it took a while for me. Even now, sometimes I have to, step back and I'm just like, all right, like, what is important to you in this season, in this moment? Yes, I'm feeding and serving myself, and I am my main priority, because if I'm not at the forefront, if my cup is empty, I can't pour into anybody else. That's understood. But then I have to think, okay, like, what are my priorities? So I want you to talk about, for a quick second, y'all don't judge me. So I know, especially for nurses, I don't know teachers so much how it works for you guys, but I know for nurses, especially bedside nurses, we have our days when it's like we're working, 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 and then we may be short staffed or we're just overloaded with whatever else comes with the job. And then we talk about calling out. We talk about sick time. We're talking about a mental health day.
Mhm.
And pre-COVID, it was all like, oh, let's take a mental health day. It's fine. Like, call out. No problem. You know, we might go and do all the things and have fun on the side. But then now I'm like, no, it's really a thing.
Mhm.
You really need that downtime.
Yeah.
It's not, we may joke around about it, but especially me personally now in this season, I have my days where I'm like, listen, this is too much. I
Yeah.
am tired.
Yeah.
And I don't think people understand because they just have the mentality like, oh, no, 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 no. Like, team no sleep, you got it. Like, you can work the overtime, you can do this. And it's something that I never understood. I'm like, if I am tired, there's no team no sleep because I like my sleep.
Mhm. Not just like your sleep, but you need your sleep.
Yeah,
You physically, your brain cannot operate the way that it is created to operate without rest.
right.
So we've got to get to the point, and I'll be honest, coming through the pandemic, even now, I'm really concerned about our caring professions.
Mm,
Counselors, social workers, there, ministers, there's a number of them because let me say this. I always say that crisis doesn't make you anything. It's a mirror. It shows you who you are.
yeah.
So I don't believe that COVID-19 made our country, our city, our community anything. I think it held up a mirror and showed her.
Thank
So
you.
what we've learned in this crisis is heart workers, we've been doing this thing wrong. We've been doing this thing wrong. So not only do you, we use self-care kind of as a suggestion. It's really trendy term. It's not trendy. It's survival.
Mhm.
It is survival to the point that we need to plan for it.
Yeah.
We
Yeah.
need to make sure it happens.
Yes.
So if you know you're a nurse, you're a teacher, whatever you do, it can be any profession.
Yeah.
Any profession, stay at home mom, anything that you do. If you know that you spend the majority of your days giving to other people and not necessarily filling your own bucket, then you are a hard worker and we're talking to you.
Yeah.
If you know that is how you work, then it is critical that you strategically plan for the time that you're going to refill your tank. Strategically plan for it. It is not cute to get to the end of the year and you got all these overage of vacation days and now you're going to lose them because you didn't take the time that was afforded to you. The company is giving it to you. And I do understand that sometimes the internal culture is not supportive of you taking those days. Sometimes they give you those days, but they don't necessarily support you in taking those days. But I want to empower you to advocate for yourself.
Mhm.
Advocate for yourself in order for you to keep doing this work, in order for you to be physically, mentally, emotionally, and spiritually healthy enough to serve in the way that you serve, you have to plan your self-care.
Yeah.
You have to plan your days off. And I'm not talking about a day off to go do your side gig. I'm not talking about a day off to go work with your family all day or run errands for somebody that you love. That ain't no day off.
Yeah.
Say it like that.
Thank
That's
you.
not a day off.
Yep.
You plan whatever your energy filler is,
Mm.
whatever works for you, you need to plan for that.
Right.
You need to find ways to do it. So and the call out, if you have to call out, you have to call out. But here's the thing, sometimes we have to call out because we didn't plan it. We've worked ourselves to the bone to the point that we can't take it no more. So we have to call out because we just can't, we got nothing else to give. What I would encourage you to do is anticipate that you're going to need a break.
Thank you.
Look at what you got going on. Look
Mhm.
at your calendar. Already know, okay, this, and this is coming up. After this day, your girl's going to be off for a day, or
Right.
I'm going to be off for 2 days.
Right.
Anticipate it,
Yeah.
plan it, and do it. Because then your office, your organization can plan around it if they know you're going to be off. And I listen, I've been in a culture. I have been in a culture where you don't want to say, I'm going to take a day off. Or
Mhm.
you got to write a dissertation about why you're going to be off. And you just feel like, never mind. I'll just come to work if I got to do all that.
You're right.
I want to empower you to advocate for yourself.
You have to.
You are given vacation days.
Hmm.
If that is a part of your benefit package, take the benefit. Not to abuse it.
Yep.
Don't be irresponsible. I
Right.
would never, ever encourage you to be irresponsible. But what I am encouraging you to do is take that superhero cape off your back.
Thank you.
Realize that you are human and you need that time. And this is Mother's Day. Even moms,
Hmm.
loving your children means that you show them what loving yourself looks like.
Yeah.
You can love them enough to leave them in the care of somebody else who loves them
Hmm.
so that you can go and do something for you.
Yeah.
And this is not judgment. I'm not saying that it's easy. I'm not pretending that I have your answer. But what I do want to do is empower you and give you permission to choose you. Choose you so that you can continue to do the hard work, so that you can continue to raise and love on your babies.
Yeah.
Mommy that they get is the mommy that you want them to see. And
Right.
the mommy that's barely hanging on because you haven't stopped for a moment to take care of yourself.
That's important.
Yeah.
I love that you went into that aspect of it. I'm gonna say two things.
Yeah.
The first is just the other day, I want to say a couple weeks ago, maybe 2 weeks ago, my stepmom, I went upstairs and, it's like maybe 6 o'clock. She's like, oh my God, I'm so tired. I'm like, okay, so go sleep. And she was like, but I'm like, what's the problem? For me, my sister is 8, about to be 9.
Yeah.
She'll be fine. She can brush her teeth. She know how to shower herself. She can, heat up something in the fridge. She'll be okay.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not a mom, so I don't know.
Sure.
But for me, it was like, you can let her dad know X, Y, and Z and 1, 2, 3, and you can sleep for an hour. It's 6 o'clock. What's the issue?
Yeah.
Because for me, I've realized how important it is, especially now as a working professional. Before, when I was doing odd gigs, it's like I'm all over the place.
Mm-hmm.
Now that I have, well, an consistent schedule, I work 3 to 4 days a week, and that can vary. It could be weekends, it could be weekdays, it doesn't matter. But now that I'm consistently working 12-hour shifts every week, I work 36, 37 hours, right? I know that I need my time.
Yeah.
And so there's one thing I used to tell my parents. I used to be like, listen, even though I'm still technically in the house, technically speaking, my days off are my days off.
Mm-hmm.
So when you don't see me, if my car is outside, leave me alone.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not saying it to be mean. It's not saying it to be selfish. I know what, as you said before, you're introverted. You know what you need, right? Your alone time. And I'm doing this because this is my bubble.
Yeah.
And sometimes, even when I'm in conversation with them, like if something happens or something comes up, I'm like, I'm not in this conversation. This is my bubble. Leave me out of it, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because I know what I need to refuel me. And sometimes, as you said, especially for moms, it's that superhero syndrome of, oh, I got to do it all and I got to be it all. And sometimes it's like you could take it off to just chill. You
Yeah.
don't have to do everything all the time,
Yeah.
right? Even in, as I said before, higher positions, if you're in a position of in a company or whatever the case may be, and you hold a specific title, it's kind of expected, oh, you got to do all these things. But it's like, no, that's when you delegate and that's when you ask for help,
Right. Right.
right? So even sometime last month, I think it was, and I don't know if you remember. So we were on, damn it, I think it was Coach Brittany's call
Okay.
in Purpose the Platform, a coaching program where I met PBJ. And somehow we got on the topic of same thing, like burnout and self-care. And I remember Coach Brittany had said, sometimes you just got to get away for a day, a weekend, a week just by yourself, without the kids, without your husband, without your significant other, without your work,
Hmm.
without the tablet, without the laptop. Because even me, I'll tell you, I'm in the basement of apartment of the house, right? Where I'm recording right now is technically in my bedroom.
Yeah.
A little spot where, like I could do my work stuff, quote unquote, but it's still a part of my space.
Yeah.
There's when, they might come downstairs or, like just want to have a conversation, whatever the case may be, and that's fine. However, there are times when I am cut off, like I don't want to be bothered. And so a month ago, I was like, all right, Coach Brittany said sometimes we got to take time for ourselves. And I literally, it was maybe 12 o'clock in the day, and I kept saying, no, I'm going to do it today. I'm going to do it today. I'm going to do it today. And maybe at like 2, 3 o'clock, I was like, you know what? Let me go on Expedia real quick. And I booked a hotel for a night, one night.
Hmm.
And I remember my best friend said to me, she was like, yeah, but like, do you have something important coming up? Like, do you have to record or do you have a phone call? And I was like, no. And she
Yeah.
was then save the money. And I was like, this has to happen. This has to happen. Because even though I could have been off, I think I was probably off for like 2, 3 days, but I still needed to get away
Yeah.
every day because I needed to step away from, again, the tablets, the laptop, even the phone. I just needed to step away. I brought 2 books with me. I brought my laptop not to do work,
Hmm.
but because I had a therapy call like within an hour. I got to the hotel, I unpacked everything, I had my therapy session, I watched TV, I went out, I got food by myself. I was reading my book until 1 o'clock in the morning. I slept for a couple hours, woke up the next day, and it was all for me, by me, nobody else, no distractions.
Yeah.
But I needed that.
You refilled.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
I don't think we normalize that enough because we have the mentality and the notion that we have to keep going and going and going. And, it's like, oh, but like we're working women and we can do it all and we can juggle. And it's like, yeah, but independence goes but so far, you will break.
So two things. One, remind me to go back to you can do it all. Okay,
Mm.
that's but the first thing is we've got to learn how to communicate to people what we need.
Yeah.
So that includes our family members, that includes our supervisors and our leaders, our colleagues, even the people that we lead,
Yeah.
So I'm associate vice president right now. I have a unit under me. So there are people who are depending on me, but they're also watching my example.
Yeah.
And I've learned that it's one thing for me to say, take care of yourself, make sure your team is taking care of themselves. But if I am not showing that, then it still doesn't feel okay to take care of yourself.
Right.
I'm saying it with my mouth, but I'm not showing them the example of what it means to take care of yourself. So you got to practice what you preach,
Yep.
right? But we've got to learn how to communicate to people what we need because we make the assumption that they should know. You know,
Mhm.
I was in my burnout season. I just assumed like they should know I'm tired.
Right.
Like from my husband to my child to my students to my colleagues, everybody, like, why can't they see? Why can't they see I'm tired? And there were a few people who like, what's going on with you? You know,
Mm.
people who were intuitive enough to look me in my eye and say, look, I don't know what it is, but
Right.
something's not. But
Yeah.
that's their responsibility. That was a bonus.
Mhm.
That it wasn't their responsibility to come and drag me out. It was my responsibility to raise my hand and say, hey, I am not okay.
Yeah.
I
Yep.
need y'all to know that what's happening right now is not working for me.
Yeah.
And to figure out something that's going to work better. So we must communicate to the people around us what our needs are. Even my husband, and he is a phenomenal husband. I am so grateful for him, but he is not a mind reader.
Yes.
He's not a mind reader. So
Right.
have a thought in my head and I'll think it's obvious. Like, can't he see this? Child, it is all in my head and I haven't said it yet. So I'm responsible for telling him what I need, what needs to change, what's working for me, what's not working for me. Not because the relationship is all about me, because it's not. But if you never speak up, you'll never get what you need.
Thank you.
So you
Closed
got
mouth
to learn.
gift.
You got to teach people how to treat you. You
Yeah.
got to train people how to treat you. So you got to talk to your family about, okay, y'all might not realize this, but I'm an introvert.
Yeah.
That means, I'll give you an example. So today is Mother's Day.
Hmm.
My baby girl took us all out. So I'm bonus mama, her mama, and her good friend's mama. She took all of us out, right?
Right.
It was wonderful, beautiful, but that's a lot of peopling for me. That's a lot of peopling for me. It was beautiful.
Right.
Knew in order for me to have this conversation with you and
Hmm.
to be my best, I had to come home. We came home and I told my husband, I said, I'm going to go in the room and shut the door because
Yeah.
I need quiet time
Right.
before I go on my call with Ashley.
Right.
I I know that I'm responsible for that. And he respected that because he understands now because I started talking about it. He understands that that doesn't mean I don't love him, that I don't want to spend time with him, that I didn't have a good time today. None of that is true. It just means I am very aware of
Yeah.
what I need to be the best PBJ that I can be.
Amen.
And I am protected, fiercely protective of what I need in order to be the best PBJ. So we got to tell people what we need. And
Yeah.
then the second thing, what did I tell you the second thing was? I already forgot. Child, I already forgot. I meant to say.
It'll come back to me.
It'll come back. It'll
It,
come. There was another thing. There was another thing.
it'll.
But anyway, we'll get back to
No, but I'm glad you said that because that's also something that I am just now learning. The boundaries and that go hand in hand.
it. Yeah. Yeah.
You know. So yeah, I might, me and the way I communicate with my people, especially my dad, we're very playful. That's just our relationship. That's been our relationship.
Sure.
There are moments when I'm like, bro, don't call me.
Yeah.
Then he's like, what? And I'm like, I'm so serious. Like, I will block you. Do not call me. Like, I'm not even joking. Don't call me.
Yeah.
So there are moments when, especially now, like, as I said, I'm in the basement. It's, you can access the back of the house easier walking through the basement, which is fine.
Sure.
But I let them know. I said, listen, I do pay rent. One. Two, this is not a walkthrough. If you
Yeah.
want to get to the back, no problem. Just let me know. Give me a heads up. And especially now that I'm doing the series and I'm on a schedule and I know my schedule. uh,
Right.
If he wants something, like he'll ask me, hey, can you help me with X, Y, and Z? And I'm like, all right, we just got to be done by 3. And he's like, but you got to do stuff. It's none of your business. But just know that we need to be done by 3. And it's
Yeah.
not to be disrespectful. It's not to be, again, selfish. It's just, I know, one, right? If I'm going to be on here at 7 o'clock, not necessarily for today at 3 o'clock, because that's OD. But I know that if I need to be on here at 7 o'clock,
Mm.
one, I'm gonna have to look like something because the braids underneath here are cute. Two, I'll need at least 40 minutes to get these eyebrows and these lashes together. So I know, added to the fact that I may want to read up on some notes. I may want to just talk to myself for 15 minutes and practice and, whatever the case may be. So I let them know. I think it was Friday night when I was with Chanel on the first live. I'm like, listen, at 8 o'clock, do not bother me. Matter of fact, make it 6:30. I don't want anybody to call me.
Mm-hmm.
And he called me and he was like, hey, did you start yet? And I'm like, no, but I am still busy because I'm preparing. I have things to do. I am not on your schedule. I'm on mine.
Yeah.
And as you said before, you got to communicate and let people know. And I'm still learning. I'm still at the phase where I'm standing up for myself.
Yeah.
And so even a lot of us as grown-ups don't know how to do that.
And you keep saying, finally, I'm finally. And you know what? I got to tell you, so you said 28?
Mm-hmm.
I'm 40 and I'm finally. Here's the reason why I said that.
Mm-hmm.
Because I want you to know that you are ahead of the curve. There are 50, 60 year olds who have not learned how to advocate for themselves and how to set boundaries that work. So I just want to take a moment to say, I am proud of you.
Right.
I'm proud of you for doing the work to learn, because it is a process to learn. And I love the relationship that you have with your dad, right? Every person in your life is different, and the way you communicate with each other and your understanding, like that's how you do it,
Right.
right? So I am so proud of you
Thank you.
for putting in the work and the practice to learn this now.
Mm.
Because when, as your life develops and as you collect more people, and if you want a family one day and all this stuff, it's the same stuff. What you're practicing right now is going to be what you use
Mhm.
as you move through your life and as you do more and have more responsibility. So I am so proud of you for learning this now, because you can avoid
Mm.
so many of the hurdles and valleys that a lot of us had to walk through because we didn't have the knowledge or the understanding or the courage to advocate for ourselves.
And that's it right there. It's the courage.
It's
Because
courage.
a lot of times, even as I said, I'm still learning.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, but I don't want to be mean, or I don't want to seem like this person. I don't want to be selfish. I don't want them to label me as. And there are other days when I'm like, oh, hell no. This is no, 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 no. And I have to, like, literally, I have to reel it back in and say, no, it's okay.
Yeah.
As my cousin had said it in a previous comment, as Caribbean people, we're taught certain things, and there's certain things you don't do, there's certain things you gotta abide by. And it's like, but whoever came up with that in the first place?
Mm-mm.
And
Mm.
this is a deeper topic, which we don't, but it ties into so many of the generational, some people call them curses, the cycles that we go into and the things we get caught up in because we don't learn and we weren't taught to advocate for ourselves. We weren't taught to do certain things. We see, like the parents, the mom, whoever worked 2, 3, 4 jobs, and that was the norm. So we adopt that mentality.
Yeah.
And for me, there came a point where I honestly, I say this and I need to get out the habit. I have my days when I'm just like, I understand that not everybody's a workaholic. Like I have my lazy moments, and I trust me, I do.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm just like, am I really just a lazy person? Because I don't want to do all these other things that everybody else, because I just don't feel called to do that. I don't, and when I said, I mean, I literally don't feel like it's within my nature to do all these things. I don't want to. I don't feel like I should push myself to do these things. I already feel this way working 3 shifts out of the week. Imagine me getting a per diem. And I
Mm-hmm.
remember I applied for a per diem. I think this was 2 years ago now. Did the interview, everything, came back. I was like, all right, like you bombed it. Cause like I practice, and I was like, if these people call me back, I'm not answering the phone. Like I don't even want the job. And that's another thing too. We do the things because we're trained to do them, and to, like, in the back of our heads, we're like, okay, like this person will be proud because now I got this job and now I can. But it's like, but do you want it for yourself?
Do you want it?
What are you doing?
So what I hear you talking about is the culture in which we grew up, in which we were trained, the women, the people in our lives, the examples that we had, because when we talk about doing all the things, and most of the time, because I've heard the question come to women, how do you do it all? I
Mm,
very rarely hear anybody ask a man,
yeah,
do you do it all?
yeah.
That somewhere in our society, we've all learned that the woman has to carry the load. Since when, who, and how? Um, and it's not that we throw away everything that we have been taught, because I believe that we stand on the shoulders of giants.
Yeah.
Culture, our background serves as a foundation for us to keep grounded. So you don't toss away everything you've been taught, but you're also not called to live as a cookie cutter of the people who came before you. We should be learning. I want my child to have a better experience. I want her to have more impact. I want her to have a better life. I want her to look at my life and say, this piece that Mama Patrice taught me, I'm going to hold on to this because this is
Right.
so well. But this right here that I saw Mama Patrice doing, that is not a fit for me. And
Yeah.
I'm letting that go.
Yeah.
And I want our children and our next level, next generation of professionals to have permission to do that.
Yeah.
Do it better. You know, sometimes my students will say, I want to be just like you. And I always say, baby, be better than me.
Yeah.
Be better than me. Because
Yeah.
I do my job if you're gonna be just like me.
Hmm.
You not don't just learn from what I do well, learn from my failures. Be better than me.
Right.
Be better than me. So we've got to give ourselves permission
Mm.
to learn. Don't toss away everything,
Right.
please, because you'll be out here blown by every wind of change if you ain't got no
Yeah.
foundation. Okay? Don't throw it all away. But you gotta be, I talk about this invisible backpack that we all carry.
Mm.
And in it is everything that you've learned and every experience that you've had. And what we need to do is go through that backpack and determine what in there has served you well and keep it and hold on to it. And then anything that's in that backpack that's not serving you well or helping you serve other people well, set that thing aside through prayer, through counseling, through coaching, whatever you got to do. Work on getting that out of your backpack so that you're not carrying that load for the rest of your days. So it's okay for us to be a little bit different. And listen, everybody's not going to like it. You hear me? You know, I see our sister Lindsay is on, Lindsay Ray Perry. And I heard Lindsay say this on a podcast. I think she was on Jamaica's podcast, Looking for My Fit. And she said, if you walk into a dark room with a light, and I'm going to jack it up, Lindsay, but this is the idea. You walk to a dark room with a light. Anybody who was in that darkness, their eyes are going to have to adjust.
Mm.
Gonna be uncomfortable at first. They're gonna be squinting and carrying on because the light is disruptive.
Yeah.
But
It's,
that doesn't mean you don't shine the light.
yeah.
So it's okay for people to be disoriented. It's
Mm.
okay for them to be uncomfortable. It's okay for what you're doing to be disruptive. Somebody got to bring the light.
Yep. That's a good point. That's such a good point. That's such a good point. And somebody, I forgot who said it to me, said that I know we, two different generations, bear with me.
Yeah,
And I'm positively sure that you can resonate. She said to me, you're at a crossroads because you are the generation that's in between, what is it? I'm the millennial. So I'm between whatever was before me, because I don't know. I really don't know these terms. And Gen Z, where it's all technology and it's all these new things that are popping up. And I'm in the between of the traditional
yeah,
and newness. And I'm trying to bridge the gap and I'm trying to figure it out. And this is with respect to any and everything, whether career, relationships, whatever it is. And I'm trying to bridge that gap. And she said it's not easy work. So I'm so glad you said that, because as you said, you're carrying the light. It may not be comfortable. It may look new. It may be like, what the hell is she doing now?
yeah,
But somebody got to bring that light. And
yeah.
it's really right. Yeah.
Yeah, I love that. And you're right. I love the millennial generation. I love that you all always want to ask why.
Yeah. Yes.
Why do you do that? Just
Yeah.
no, not just because we always done it. Why? Why?
Yeah. Yeah.
I love the energy and the new ideas that you are. But you're right. Light is always going to be disruptive. It's going to be disruptive to darkness, and we've got to become comfortable being disruptive.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And it's not just us, because trust me, you're a light. Like this whole conversation right now, this, I just feel like it's not something we talk about enough.
No. No.
Which is why I had to have you here. I literally wrote the list down. I wrote the topics down and I was like, oh, write her down. I know we haven't been, buddy, but I don't care. You're going to step out of your comfort zone. You're going to ask her to be here because she needs to be here. We had to have this conversation. You're not only a hard worker, you're a light worker. Because as I said, that day when you spoke up about what exactly it was that you did, you spoke to my heart. And I was just like, no, I like her. Every time you speak, it's legit, like a lightness. And
Mm,
I'm gonna dibble in this a little bit. I was speaking to my therapist last month, and I don't know how we got on the topic, and she said, "But what brings you peace? Like, not so much what brings you peace, but when do you feel at peace?"
mm,
And it ties greatly into the topic of you're doing everything for everybody else so much that you neglect yourself and you don't work on feeling light and at peace within yourself. That's why I said this topic is needed.
yeah.
Because I'm
We,
sure many people on this call right now that are just like, okay, like I hear you. Cherise said it, Alicia said it. Like, there are things that we've just been doing for so long and we don't question the why. We don't take a step back to look at what it is that's going on. And we're just stuck in a cycle. So
yeah,
we,
you hit it. We are disrupt. I tell my community all the time, we're disrupting cycles of burnout
mm,
so that we can do the work we are called to do
yes,
without losing the life we desire. You're not called to be a martyr. You don't have to die for it.
yeah,
You don't have to lose everything that means the most to you. You don't have to lose yourself
mm-hmm.
or bring harm to yourself in order to do the work that you are called to do. And let me just say this, every single one of you here has a calling.
Thank
Every
you. A little
one of
loud.
you,
One more time.
every single one of you has a calling.
Thank you.
Person here was specifically created to do something. I'm not talking about your job title or your job description. It may be in there, but I'm talking about the thing, the magic, the shine, the secret sauce, the thing that you do that you don't give yourself enough credit for because you don't realize that it's your shine. It's so easy to you that you just assume it's easy to everybody else.
Yeah.
That
Mm.
that that is what's going to make the difference. And I'm not sending you on a treasure hunt to find your purpose because
Right.
you're lost.
Yeah.
Not lost. It's
Yeah.
not. It is already manifesting in your life. So I would encourage you to pay attention. Pay attention to what you do well. Pay attention to what people need from you, what they call on you for, and then invest in that. Put
Yeah.
more time and energy in that. And I'm telling you, you find yourself living in alignment and you will have peace.
Mm.
You will have peace. The Bible says, let the peace of God rule your heart and your mind.
Yeah.
You will know when you're in alignment because you're going to have that peace.
Thank you.
Yeah.
That that's it right there. So I'm winding down, but I wanted to ask you, talk about hard work. You talked about quitting your job. You talked about knowing that that was the end for you. What was it, or how did you know that it was the hard work? Like, how did you know that it was time for you? How did you step into your hard work then is my question. So me, I talk about um having that silent season. I talking about knowing that I needed to disconnect from some things because there was something greater that I needed to do, but I felt disrupted and I felt like I was being disruptive by doing other things. And so purpose was my saving grace. So hard work was your saving grace. How did you get into your hard work and say, okay, this is it?
Yeah. So here's the thing. I was doing my hard work all along. I just didn't know how to do it well.
Okay.
So I was out of work for 5 months.
Mm.
Now I'm back. I'm back in higher ed. I'm back doing the same work.
Right.
So the work hasn't changed. Universities and colleges haven't changed. The
Right.
needs of students haven't changed. I changed, sis. I changed. So now, and I always tell people, start with you.
Yeah.
Because if you start with your to-do list, if you start with the people you serve, your life will always be run by your to-do list and other people. So you got to start with you. Start with you. Your values, your motivation, your energy, your purpose, your priorities, your sacrifices.
Yeah.
When you start with you, I don't blame work. I don't blame my husband. I don't blame other people. I am responsible for advocating for myself and setting my boundaries based on my values, knowing what I need to refill my energy, reflecting on my why, knowing what my purpose is, choosing my priorities, and laying down some sacrifices so that I can do the work that I am called to do.
Thank
So work is what I've always been. I've
Yeah.
done hard work, but I'm just doing it differently now.
Okay.
I'm doing it with the understanding and the knowledge that I've got to start with me before I go out and serve somebody else.
Thank you. I needed to hear that. I'm sure it yoked somebody else up because somebody said chills. I needed to hear that.
Yeah.
Um, what's my next question for you? What would you, how would you describe what thriving means to you in this season?
That's so good. I would say that thriving means to me peace and freedom. Uh, peace, knowing, peace and knowing that I'm exactly where I'm supposed to be when I'm supposed to be there right now. Peace in knowing what I was created to do and the value that I bring. I'm very clear.
Yeah,
I'm very clear on the value that I bring.
yeah.
Freedom
Mm,
in serving without trying to accomplish somebody else's goal for me, but
mm,
living in the box of what somebody else thinks I'm supposed to be.
right.
Freedom from people pleasing, freedom to serve in the way that I serve, not trying to be anybody else but PBJ. I didn't think that what I brought was good enough.
Yeah,
There was a time in my life that I didn't think that I had to work myself into the ground because that's what they needed from me. It's
yeah,
not. What
yeah.
they needed was my shine.
Mm,
So working with the shine, working with purpose gives me freedom to do the work. So now I love going to serve my students. I always loved it, but I loved it while it was killing me.
yeah, right.
Healthy.
Yeah,
I love it and I'm free.
yeah,
And I believe I serve better because
mm,
I'm,
yeah. And you
yeah,
have to do whatever it is that you're supposed to do. Now you can do it from a place of this is it, this is me, that's what you're gonna get. I
I'm
love
very clear.
I love
I'm there.
yeah. That's
Yeah.
last question for you. How do you own your authenticity?
Ooh. That's exactly what I was just getting talking about. I come as PBJ every day. What you see is what you get.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, what you see is what you get. Every single day. You don't ever have to be surprised. It's going to be the same PBJ.
I appreciate you so much.
Listen,
Like I told you, I needed this. I knew the people needed this, but I needed this more than them. This could have just been a me and you conversation on Zoom. I appreciate you so much.
I am so,
You have such, and I said it before, but you have such a light spirit, like just a lightness over you. And when you said peace and freedom just now, that resonated with me a lot because, as I said, I'm just now realizing certain things and doing certain things and
yeah,
just into my peace and my freedom.
yeah.
This conversation here is everything. I feel like I could talk to you for hours.
And we will if you need that. But I just want you to know I'm proud. I'm so proud of you, Ashley.
Thank you.
I'm so proud of you. And I want you to keep pushing and keep doing the things that you know you need to do.
Yeah.
Not only introducing Thrive to other people, but you keep thriving yourself. You keep thriving. Keep being the light. Keep being the light. And listen, you already know this sisterhood that we can come on. He run deep. Ain't nobody
Easy.
playing.
Every time I connect with somebody else, I'm like, listen, you can't get rid of me.
Nah.
This is it. We might not talk every day, but guess what? When you see me pop up in your DMs with an epistle, just know you cannot get rid of me. You might have to block me, and that's okay.
Together.
Yeah,
And we mean this thing.
yeah.
Yeah, we mean this thing. So thank you, sis.
Thank you. And oh my God, we have to do this again.
Let
So
me
an email. I don't know when, but it's gonna happen.
let,
Part
let
two. But thank you so much. Show PBJ some love in the comments. Thank you so much. Vanessa, can I have